Satyabhama Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai.
When you change to an electric car, you reduce pollution, both outside and inside. Change what you can with the MG ZS EV.
डिशवॉशर है ना?
जितनी स्क्रबिंग उतनी सफाई।
इसमें आपके बेटे ने दाल मखनी जलाई थी, फिर भी चकाचक।
Bosch, इंडियन किचन का डिशवॉशर।
We begin the day with a panel discussion on smart living and how technology is impacting and changing lives. Well, we've all lived through these last 6 months. We all know that our lifestyle choices, the way we consume information, the way we are educating our children, all of that has become virtual. So let's take a look at how technology is going to further transform our lives. Our first panel discussion, Smart Living, sponsored by Bosch Home Appliances. We have with us Ms. Meenakshi Menon, co-founder of Way Beyond Media, and Ms. Alpana Parida, founder of Tivera Ventures. Can I please invite Mr. Rajiv Dubey, editor of Business Today and managing editor of Business TV Today Network, to please moderate this discussion.
Welcome to this panel discussion on living smartly, smart living with gadgets and smart living to multitask. This is part of Business Today's India's most powerful women virtual conclave that Business Today is hosting. I have with me two panelists, very outspoken panelists. Alpana Parida is the founder of Tivera Ventures, and Meenakshi Menon is the co-founder of Way Beyond Media. So welcome to both of you. And I wanted to start with gadgets, living with gadgets and multitasking with gadgets. How has your experience been in this phase of work from home, using gadgets to multitask, and especially because the pandemic is currently in full force, and at the same time the economy is also opening up, and so one has to be very smart about using work from home and work from office, which all of us are juggling with at times. And in between come the gadgets. So using them very smartly to be able to make the most of it. Alpana, would you like to start with?
Sure. Thanks, Rajiv. Good to be here. Yeah, I think gadgets, all gadgets have largely worked to compress either space or time. And during this period, both have been necessary. So, virtually being connected with people, whether it's work or whether it's friends and family, digitally we've been connected, including this meeting. We are doing this online. So that has been a huge boon. And the time that you have during the lockdown, you also didn't have the kind of help you had. So there was a lot of household gadgets. I remember early on in the lockdown, meeting a neighbor who told me that she'd invested in a Roomba, which was, I think it's one of those motorized floor cleaners. And so I think gadgets of all kinds seem to have made inroads during this time, depending on, of course, the socioeconomic capability or possibilities.
Meenakshi?
Yeah, I would articulate it slightly differently, Rajiv. I mean, technology is what has actually transformed lives during the lockdown. Gadgets are important, but the gadgets per se, I mean, we're not a very gadget-friendly country in any case. People, there's the odd person who talks about buying a dishwasher because the maid's not coming in, and like the ground cleaning robo. But the fact of the matter is technology has transformed everybody's lives. And, while gadgets may be limited to a very small section at the top of the pyramid, but technology has transformed the lives of, probably 800 of the 1.3 billion Indians during the lockdown. So whether it was, train timings, whether it was availability of buses, whether it's job availability, and for me, that's what's fascinating, because that really goes to show that ultimately, in the face of adversity, people can adapt. And that's the fundamental truth that, is transforming all our lives.
How important to have gadgets been for you in the past, and what has changed now?
I think that at a larger level, beyond gadgets, I think we are sort of understanding the need to be much more self-reliant. And I think an average middle class, upper middle class home in India uh, did not know, unlike the rest of the Western world, how to be self-reliant. The world would come crashing down if you didn't have domestic help, if you didn't have a driver, if you didn't have a lot of help that is required, is not entirely necessary. I think various other things also became unnecessary. It's not just, it's the whole idea of acquisitions of various kinds, and therefore uh, buying necessities through online, whereas what are not necessities, I think those behaviors changed, and categories such as fashion and categories such as beauty, personal care, saw the hit because consumers found that not everything was as necessary. So I think there was been a sort of back to basics at some level in terms of behaviors, and yet there is a reliance on maybe gadgets to help further the cause of self-reliance. So it's been at both levels. But I agree with Meenakshi. I think technology is possibly a better way of identifying this rather than just purely gadgets.
Okay, Nakshi.
Yeah, also, if you look at it, Rajiv, Alpana, at the end of the day, we talk about domestics and we talk about, let's say, drivers, but they're all part of the ecosystem. I mean, today, if there were no jobs for maids and no jobs for drivers, there would be a huge, big chunk of our population that would be unemployed. And that population, people in the middle class actually have, in my opinion, a social responsibility to the people who are maids and drivers. So I honestly don't see a permanent, a gadget replacing domestic help, right? It may be temporarily. The second thing is gadgets, again, are dependent on electricity. Home gadgets, domestic gadgets, when you don't have power for hours and hours and hours, what are you going to do? Schedule your dishwash when there is power? What happens when you don't have water? So, like Alpana said, in the West, you take these things for granted. In India, you cannot afford to say, bijli rahegi 24 ghanta, 24/7, or pani rahega. So you have timings, you have this. So within all these constraints of our reality, the domestic help becomes fundamental, not only as our assistance to us, but also as part of our ability to contribute to the well-being of everybody else. I mean, sometimes I'm shocked. I live on my own. I have 6 different helpers who work with me.
Okay.
And it's not that I need them, but it's that I believe that I'm giving them a better life. So, that's a different perspective.
Were there things that were good to have earlier, which are absolute necessity now? I mean, you just can't do without.
Let me add to that. For instance, my driver, okay, he used to use public transport, but now he's had to buy a second-hand two-wheeler. Right? So this whole change is impacting people in many different ways. So, for instance, I find that the guys who used to work in my office, the office assistants, as we call them, right? They were not familiar with mail, because when does an office assistant actually use mail? But now, because they have to take instructions over mail, they've become very familiar with mail. They've become extremely familiar with phones. They've actually had to upgrade their phones. So if they didn't have smartphones, they've had to go and buy a smartphone so that they could actually deliver the service that they are being paid for.
Right. I think more than gadgets, what has really changed is, I think, the entire shopping behavior. And right through the lockdown, the only way you could get supplies including essential supplies, was through online, purchase. And I think that just as demonetization gave a huge fillip to digital payments, I think a lot of online sites have seen a huge impetus because of this. And so this will probably shape the retail industry in many ways as well. It'll shape, today the malls are all struggling. I think restaurants are struggling. The order at home, and therefore, how can experiences be delivered at home? It's not right now just food and products are being delivered, but can there be a delivery of experiences? So I think this will shape many things, and there could be newer opportunities for many businesses that we're not even able to see right now.
Satyabhama Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai.
What are you looking at, Dad?
4WD.
Four weird doodles?
No! Four-wheel
drive.
MG Gloucester. Bookings now open.
डिशवॉशर है ना?
जितनी स्क्रबिंग उतनी सफाई।
इसमें आपके बेटे ने दाल मखनी जलाई थी, फिर भी चकाचक।
Bosch, Indian kitchen का dishwasher.
A lot of marketers are called crunch buying right now, basically, and people, and many of them are suggesting that this is right after the lockdown or unlockdown that you're seeing this crunch buying, and suddenly there's going to be a sudden dip, and which I think is being experienced in some of the segments of the market. So the worry is that do you think that there are appliances or home appliances which have helped you multitask or achieve your goals of efficiency or productivity, or gadgets, any of those which have helped you do this to live smartly?
So I think apart from that occasional examples such as a Roomba, I don't think people went out and bought new gadgets. They had what they had. I think they simply learned to apply them more. So I have a friend who Meenakshi, we just talked about them, who had a dishwasher, but they never used it. They began to use it, right? So I think it's not just having the gadgets, but it's using them a lot more yourself. Maybe that changed. I think the other thing that changed is, and I had a lot of people tell me that because there was so much self-reliance on what you had and the gadgets you had, you began experimenting a lot more. I think that happened in cooking, that happened in even your cleaning systems, basic household things, because you didn't rely on somebody else, but you brought in your own intelligence. So I think it was the application of a lot of these that improved. I'm not sure if per se the demand for them went up drastically.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Rajiv, because you see there is a slight blip in demand for white goods today. If we look at it, we are seeing more dishwashers were sold, more washing machines were sold, but that's just a slight blip, and I don't see that being sustained. Okay, honestly, today, in fact, like Alpana said, in most places, most cities, except in containment zones where things are still under control, but in most other places, people are now allowing domestics to come in, and everybody's heaving a sigh of relief and saying, okay, I'm going back to my normal. What has changed is consumption patterns. It's very clear. Things like fashion. I mean, if you're not going to be going out, why would you want to buy garments, right? Yeah. If you're sitting at home and doing Skype calls and meetings, maybe you just wear a, top and you don't wear trousers or whatever. The fact of the matter is, consumption has changed dramatically. And that is fundamental to the way marketers approach the market. It's fundamental to the way consumers respond to the market. And there are a lot of these changes are actually going to stay with us. Even if Corona, reduces, even if things change, there are going to be fundamental shifts taking place.
So, how do you see this, playing out? Are you seeing fundamental behavioral changes? Are you seeing any very significant fundamental changes that are taking place right now?
I think certainly the concept of ownership and how much and the idea of acquisition, that is taking a fundamental shift because nobody's seeing. Is this going to go away? Someday it will, but it will, when COVID disappears, people will be back. But does it mean that everything comes back to normal? I think the impact of this is going to be so deep on our psyche. We don't really understand the ramifications. It's like the world wars that impacted an entire generation. I think this is a worldwide impact that people are going to see. And millennials who never grew up imagining that there could be any difficulties in life are possibly going to be wired differently to begin with. So I see self-reliance in some ways playing out in many ways, in how you do your work, in how you plan your ecosystem, in how you plan your supply chain. You make it smaller and narrower, more predictable. What kind of holidays people take, what kind of partners they choose. I think a lot more is going to be geographically determined as well. So there will be enormous amount of changes that I see in the coming days. The way we the experiences that we will seek will be a combination of the virtual and the physical. So, there are family groups that meet and do online antaksharis, and there are more and more such apps that allow for greater meeting. And I found that actually during this period, I have been more in touch with people who have been overseas and I have been away than I would have been otherwise, because otherwise you just wait till you meet them. And here you make the effort to meet and you could catch up with a lot of people.
Sure.
So all of this will ladder into consumption behavior, which will be fundamentally different. And I think we'll have to see how that plays out. But yes, there are many opportunities for innovation right now.
So personal consumption, is going to change, has changed and is going to change. What do I need? What do I use as a consumer? Social consumption is at zero. So when I consume for society to, see what I'm consuming, the whole business of, maybe the big fat Indian wedding, maybe this is the end of the big fat Indian wedding, at least for some time, because there's no point in conspicuous consumption. What's also going to happen is, like Alpana said, this whole thing of families coming together has actually moved beyond just families. So it's families, it's communities. So in some way, the pivots, the nodal points of our existence have changed. So the way there are going to be fundamental changes. I see social consumption going down dramatically because, so much of our consumption is for social causes, for, whether it's envy or it's appreciation or whatever it is. Self-consumption, where you're consuming because you need to survive, whether it's food, whether it's technology, whether it's, books, entertainment, whatever it is, that's going to increase. The other key influence I find is the whole business of pivots. There are new pivots. So earlier, for instance, you and your family would have one kind of, let's say, relationship. But like Alpana was saying earlier, you're now having a relationship with your extended family. And suddenly, people are getting together. So what they can't do physically, they're doing virtually. And virtually, there's no limit to the number of people you can include. In real terms, you may not want to meet them face to face, but in virtual terms, you're happy meeting with them. So suddenly now these circles are getting wider and wider. Social media, the influence of social media is just, horrifying in the way it's actually changing people and changing opinions, influencing communities. And so that's a glue. In some ways, it's a glue because it brings together people who otherwise have nothing in common, but hate somebody in common, so that brings them together.
My last question is, before we close, I wanted to check how do you see what have been the big learnings for you in this whole phase? Before that, if you could briefly answer to the issue of productivity and efficiency, what's been your experience?
So I have a startup, and in a startup, there aren't older processes that you're following. So this allowed us to create very new processes, and we didn't have to spend any time trying to figure out how to manage. I meet a lot of businesses in various forums, and they tell me there are two kinds. There are one who are just going ahead and changing, including one business owner who told me that he had 1,000 employees. They didn't let a single person go. But what they essentially managed was that they took their 300 frontline employees and augmented the rest of the staff by adding to the frontline employees. So in virtual effect, they actually had more sales people than they had people in the back end, and they innovated in that manner. I think that fundamental way of thinking differently. There are other kinds of business owners who say that when things become normal, I'm not sure if that day is coming, because maybe there's going to be a new trajectory from now on, and businesses will have to wake up to that. So the fundamental thing is for businesses to start understanding risk better. And risk is not something you can plan for. Risk is something you can only be prepared for. You don't know what's coming. There have been smaller things that have come, everything from demonetization to various include political upheavals, or God knows what happens in America on November 3rd and what happens geopolitically. The one thing is clear, that the future is unpredictable at a faster pace. And the only thing we can do is to be prepared for that unpredictable. So more agile ways of handling behavior, more agile, I think even when it comes to real estate ownership, having agility with rentals rather than ownership. Agility is going to be perhaps the one big value that's going to now being the underlying value that determines a lot of our choices and a lot of our behaviors going forward.
So the way I see it is slightly different. Okay, I think the entire, let's say, lockdown period needs to be broken down into three sections. The first section was where everybody was reeling from the shock, right? So there was lockdown, things just went downhill. People didn't know what was going on. They were at home. They didn't know how to cope with it. So the first section was, and of course, add to that the fact that we had the whole migrant crisis. People had to leave. Transportation was a big problem. That period was a 2-month period. After that, what happened is people started coming around and saying, okay, this is going to be our life in the foreseeable future. And therefore, let's plan. See, human beings are amazingly resilient. So after they get knocked down, then they come back and say, okay, theek hai, now we plan. And so the next phase was the planning phase, where organizations said, okay, if you don't have, and let's not forget, most people didn't work with laptops. They worked with desktops, right? So if you're a company, like you're a services company, like let's say my company, people had desktops. Now data was on a server in the office. Now suddenly data has to get on to the cloud, and you have to give everybody laptops. So the next phase was actually gearing up for the work from home, gearing up for a new culture, gearing up for a new reality when it comes to, let's say, economic or activity or enterprise activity. The third phase is where we are right now. And the third phase is where there is acceptance, okay? There is clarity that nothing is going to change in the short term. And maybe this is the way we are going to have to live for maybe a year, 2 years. Nobody knows. But now everybody's finally getting comfortable with the thought that this is the way it's going to be. And this, in my view, is the most productive phase, because when organizations, employees, families, people understand that, okay, this is the way it's going to be, then there is a coming together, there is a convergence. And there is this ability to say, let us together build something that allows us to sustain till there is clarity about what happens next. And so in my view, productivity has dropped down dramatically because people have not been used to it. I mean, you know, how can you expect somebody who was used to getting out of home at 7 or 8 in the morning, going to office, working through office, how do you expect them to be able to work the same when they're at home? So there was a huge dip in productivity. But now I see signs of change. I see the willingness and the ability among people to say, okay, I have to work, I have to deliver. So they have to deliver the output. And what happens is certain businesses, like let's say the media business, the consulting business, the services business, we find it easier to do. The problem is in manufacturing.
Yeah. Kalpana, would you agree that productivity is now, is your experience exactly the same or is it slightly different?
I think it's very industry specific. It's very category specific. So you can argue that a lot of tech companies or the ones with home delivery, they seem to have figured it out and they're far more productive than before. I think a lot of new age businesses are able to work virtually. Certainly startups like mine, I believe our productivity has been massive because we've been working remotely. And it's actually helped us. There are many things that we've done we would not have done if we had only a physical environment to work in. So it is industry specific. Certainly media agencies, advertising agencies, branding agencies are suffering. Business is down. So it's difficult to divorce productivity from revenue or from opportunity as well. And in often cases, there isn't enough work and therefore people are struggling. So it's a bit of mixed bag. And I don't think that for me, there's a clear answer one way or the other. My personal experience has been otherwise, for sure.
Okay, so interesting takeaways, I think, and very, very fascinating insights about living smartly. Thank you, Alpana, and thank you, Meenakshi, for your time for this panel discussion. And more power to women for India's Most Powerful Women Awards. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rajiv. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Many thanks for that, Rajiv, and a big thanks to our panelists, and of course, a big thank you to Bosch Home Appliances.
Satyabhama Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai.